Say good morning, future,
Yeah.
relatives or whatever.
Or,
Morning family and future, any future.
okay, you're on.
Okay, it's showtime. This is my life story. I grew up on a family farm located southwest of Mazan, Illinois. My first memories were when I arrived at that farm. I remember going into a ditch, and I thought it was like a big ditch, and I came up, and there was my dog Rex. And I thought, my gosh, that was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. My small grandparents were both college graduates, and Grandpa Small was a doctor. The Thompsons were truck farmers, meaning they raised vegetables to sell. I had one sibling, my sister Diane, who was 8 years younger. We took family vacations, one out west where I drove the car up Pikes Peak. We considered ourselves as middle class. I criticized the way my mom backed out of the driveway when going down to Scotty and Phyllis Johnson's. Mom then said, well, since you know so much, why don't you go ahead and drive? I jumped out of the passenger seat and ran around the car and got into the 1950 Chevy car and drove. My dad handled the money. I remember Dad buying a 1950 Chevy pickup. It was a fun truck. I often drove it. I attended a one-room grade school, all 8 grades, no kindergarten. My first year classmate was held back, so I was all by myself until 7th grade when 2 smart girls moved in and provided competition. They were Pat Vidic and Fran Cook, who did extra things like crossword puzzles, read books, etc. The teacher would ask why I didn't do those things. Well, I did read books, but I only read the required minimum 8, I think it was 6 books a year. I attended high school in Mazan Verona Kinsman, or MVK. It took 3 towns so I could have a class of 28 students. I participated in 2 high school plays. Here Comes Charlie was one. Another memory of living on a farm was having my dog Rex as my only playmate. One time I sicked my dog on the chicken saying, "Sick 'em." I also remember throwing a glass bottle at the chicken house window panes and wondering why the panes broke but not the glass bottle. I also recall getting my feet x-rayed with new shoes to see if there was ample toe room. I recall having one phone only, and it was a party line. I thought only the president would have a private line. At the end of each grade school year, we would go to the Johnson Timber to have fun and fish. My fishing pole was a large horseweed to which I attached a string and a bobber and a hook. My teacher's son fell in the water, and I held out my pole for him to grab on. He said, "You saved my life." I recall Alaska and Hawaii being added to the Union and the words "In God We Trust" added to the Pledge of Allegiance. My high school friends were Larry Reeder, John Walsh, and John Finch. Later in college, Nick Parkinson, Parky, was added to the list. I helped Dad with farming and value what I learned. In geometry, I learned that the shortest distance between 2 points was a straight line. Wow, can't imagine how much time that saved me. I hope you see the humor in that. I graduated in agronomy from Iowa State University. I started dating Sandy when in college. She asked me if I belonged to a fraternity. Her mom was sure I did, but Betty saw Greek letters on my car, GDI. I said, sure, I'm the largest one on campus, Gamma Delta Iota, goddamn independent. At Iowa State, Dr. Schulte had a special impact. He said never refer to soil as dirt or you would fail his class. Sandy and I dated for a couple of years when I asked her to marry me. She was so shocked, all she could say was, no, 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 no. I said, one no would be sufficient. Gotta flip the page here. However, we were married after I graduated from Iowa State University. We had an inexpensive wedding as we had no money. Sandy made her wedding dress and the bridesmaids' dresses. Our wedding was in Sandy's country church with a reception following in the church basement. We had wedding cake, nuts, mints, punch, and coffee. A simple affair compared to the extravagant and expensive weddings of today, but it has lasted 58 plus years so far. I remember our photographer had a camera that did not always work. It would double expose. We had only about 12 photos that turned out, so we took them all. Sandy's parents had a potluck gathering on her parents' family farm following a wedding at the church. It was held in her dad's new machine shed. We received a huge sum of $100 in cash and used that money to take a brief honeymoon to Michigan. We went to Kalamazoo, Michigan, where we thought we could run a cabin on a lake. So much for that grandiose idea. All we could afford was the rental of a motel room. The majority of my work career was with ASCS, the Department of the USDA. I was an office manager in Kendall County for many years, and then later in Will Cook County. I retired in 2003, and I am free. Bill Polly, formerly Polychondriotis, encouraged me to forget about engineering and use my personality for working with people. Mr. Polly was a larger-than-life character. I had an endless amount of experiences with Willie through the years. Those include going to state conferences in Springfield. Once Sandy and Lou went along, they were swimming in the hotel pool and discovered a turd floating. Lou was sure they would drain the pool. That didn't happen. Another memorable experience was with Midge Polly. She went on about why I was going to the meeting instead of Audrey, who had done all the work of disseminating information, etc. This was when we used to use an aerial camera to take pictures from the airplane flying over the fields. I just let her rant and rave, and then she proceeded to leave. I said, aren't you going to take the camera? And then I said, and that's what managers do. I need a drink of water. I had decided not to include this story, but I just can't help myself. It's my early years of working as a reporter for Mr. Polly.
You're on.
Okay, I had decided not to include this story, but I just can't help myself. In my early years of working as a reporter for Mr. Polly, during the summers while I was in college, he proceeded to lecture the 8 of us about the fact we were representing the U.S. government. He said, I better never hear about anybody speeding down the farmer's driveway, spinning your wheels or causing gravel to fly, etc. He then said, I'll never chew your ass out. I'll just chew all around and let it fall out. I enjoyed several hobbies of interest over the years. I liked building projects and renovating places and traveling. I enjoyed photography and winemaking for many years. Many of my projects have provided training for our grandkids. Just a few years ago, I took a few flying lessons so I can take off and land a small aircraft. We have a great family of 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. We have shared many fond memories, including numerous outings and events such as Huey Lewis and the news scene at University of Illinois. Here are some areas where my wife Sandy can do a better job than me reminiscing.
Well, actually, I'm turning the machines on now, but
And my voice will pick up?
you know what?
Fine.
Let's do this. Let's do a shift. You make a good point.
Sorry.
And
Hi there. So I'm Sandy, and Larry wants me to be a part of this for some reason, even though it's his show. But like he said, we've been married, it'll be next month 59 years, so it's a long time, and we always have done almost everything together, so I guess it's fitting that I'm a part of this. Anyway, he wanted me to share both of our memories, we're very, very close with our family, our 2 girls and our grandkids. Our daughters, once they were married, live close by, so we've really been lucky that we can visit and babysit and get to know our grandkids every day practically. One of the things I think as a family that when the girls were young that we've always enjoyed doing is travel. So we would pack up a camper because we would be gone for like 4.5 weeks at a time. We'd usually leave when school was first out and then take the whole month of June and get home before the 4th of July. But we'd have this little pop-up camper, so it's seen a lot of miles, this little camper, but it was a great way to camp and a great way to have family togetherness, plus save money without being at a hotel all the time. Plus, I've always felt travel was such a great educator, so it was a big part of our lives. We often traveled out west. There's so much to see. All of our travels, of course, were in the United States, in the mainland. And there's a lot to see out west. We made several trips out there, tried to get in a lot of national parks, historic sites, things like that. But I remember one trip we did make it all the way to the Pacific Coast and to like Hollywood and that area in Los Angeles, and travel up Route 1, I think, all the way up to San Francisco. But, you know, saw the redwoods at Yosemite, etc., etc. And then we have also taken the girls and traveled out east and seen Statue of Liberty and things in that area. And the southeast as well, Kitty Hawk, so the Atlantic Ocean and Florida, up to Michigan at times, and just lots of different places. But I recall once Lara had graduated from college, she wasn't quite sure what she wanted to do, so she took some time and worked for a TWA. Well, this was not a great job for her, but it was great for us because at that time her family got wonderful trips and for a very, very cheap price. So we made sure we took advantage of all those trips. I think we got like 2 a year, and we traveled mostly to Europe. I think we went 12 different times to Europe and saw different things and stayed several weeks at each place. And what a grand experience that was for us. So we're always thankful.
I think it was 6 trips a year. A trip
6,
every other month.
maybe it was. It was, yeah, maybe that's, I think you're right there, because she only worked for about 2.5, 3 years. So we got in a lot of trips. I think you're right, 6 trips a year. Another travel memory now I'm recalling is occurred in 2009 on our 40th or 45th wedding anniversary. Which one? Maybe it was our 45th wedding anniversary. 45th? Okay. Anyway, we took the entire family, which included our 2 daughters, their husbands, and our 4 grandchildren. And we had this 3-car caravan out west to Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons for 2 weeks, and that was just a beautiful trip, and it left us with many, many treasurable memories. You know, most of these times Larry's taken tons of photographs because that's one of his hobbies, is photography. So we have lots and lots of photographs of our many, many trips. Then upon Larry's retirement in 2002, he and I took a 2003?
2003, and I'm 3.
Okay, 2003. And we took a 5-week trip to the Pacific Northwest and into Western Canada. And also on that we took a Alaskan cruise, which my sister and her husband joined us. One of my sisters and husband joined us, and we just had a fun 5 weeks. But on the way home, Larry had made the comment, because we had close relatives that lived in Batavia, but they had a lovely place in the North Woods of Wisconsin, and he always wanted a place there. So he said, I think this summer we should go back up here and look for a place. And I said, man, I've been gone 5 weeks. I'm not going to come back this long trip, which is about a 6-hour trip, come back and forth one way. Why don't we just look on our way home, never expecting to find anything, of course. So we took that northern route and landed in Rhinelander and talked with his cousin and his wife and started looking for places. And wouldn't you know, we actually found a place. So we now have a cabin in the North Woods, which we purchased then in 03, was it have been then?
03.
03. And it's outside of Eagle River in a small area called Sugar Camp. But it's on a chain of 5 lakes, and boy, has our family enjoyed that. We used to go up there all the time, even in the winter, and stay. As much of our free time as we could, we'd go up there. And over that 20 years that we've had this place, it's been a real treasure and memories and things to do for our whole family. Our grandkids just enjoy going up there so much. There's boating and swimming, and we party on the lake and watch the fall colors and do hiking. And then we started having, we don't have them anymore, it's too hard to get us all together up there at Thanksgiving time. But at Thanksgiving time for many years, the whole family would come up, and we have close neighbors, Tom and Kathy Mackin, would join us at a Thanksgiving feast. And our little cabin wasn't quite big enough for everybody, but we had a 3-car garage, and it has a 1-car, single-car garage in part of it. So we would clear all that out, and Larry had made tables, and we put up tables so we could all feast in our garage together. So that was always fun, and then kids would always go up to northern Michigan, or the UP, which is only about an hour from us, and enjoy a lot of skiing or snowboarding. So it's really, travel has really been a wonderful family thing for us, and our second home has also been a wonderful family gathering place with lots of memories for us.
Okay.
That's my part.
Okay, let me shift the microphone over. Yeah, I've never done this with 2 people before. Maybe I should buy 2 microphones. Maybe.
Sometimes the girls would get to arguing, and Larry would say,
Don't make me stop this car.
Well, you know what? We're going to do some more ad hoc work. After we get through this, I'm just going to sit down and ask you questions and just kind of talk with you.
okay.
And look for little bits and pieces. But you're on, Larry.
I'm on, all right. Well, while Sandy and I were living in Tonica, we had privilege of seeing Louis Armstrong live in a small bar in Oglesby, Illinois. While out to dinner with Kyle and Martha Price, we noticed Elizabeth Taylor seated across the room from us in New Orleans, Louisiana. We were at a restaurant called Antoine's. While on one of our vacations out west at Pikes Peak, Sandy and the girls and I were admiring the view at a turnout point. As we looked to our right, there was the Lindblom family who lived just a block from us in Yorkville, Illinois. That was sure a surprise. Melissa and Lara got a kick out of my creativity and the different things I invented to make our lives a bit easier. The girls both loved the extended air conditioner vent out of a dryer vent hose. They also liked the lofts I built for each one of them in their bedrooms with a garden hose running underneath the hardwood floors and up into the lofts with a funnel of phones on each end. Melissa remembers many family trips into Chicago, together to museums, musicals, restaurants, Lincoln Park Zoo, and more. We had fun creating meals and hosting elaborate breakfasts and dinners served on the patio at the walkout basement, surrounded by Concord grapevines and a gargoyle fountain. Melissa's favorite was the beignets. I remember going to Brookfield Zoo with our kids and Mom and Dad. I told Lara, if we get separated, you stay where you are until we return for you. Sure enough, that's what's happened. Thank God she did exactly as she was told. That's it.
Okay.
That's all, folks.
Take a little break here. Just get back on. Edit myself out so I don't have to worry about being in front of the camera. Okay. Well, let's start out with your childhood and your childhood home. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a town called Mazan, near Mazan, about 2 miles south and a mile and a half west of Mazan.
Was it an older home or a new home?
It was a prefab home initially, but then it was enlarged. I think originally, I'm not sure, but I think it only had I know it only had 7-foot ceilings. I'm not even sure if there was a separate bedroom. But then it was added on to, and we had a, what I want to say.
So it's a small ranch home.
It was a small ranch home with, it was added on so that we had,
It was built when your dad went to farm. It was a family farm, right?
right,
Owned by your grandmother.
right.
Okay. How many brothers and sisters did you have?
Just the one sister.